All right, everybody. Here we are for episode 64 of Now Showing with Mike and Wayne. We have a special guest with us today, someone that Wayne and I used to work with many years ago in Aurora with Feld Entertainment. Dave Buss is with us. David Buss, how are you doing today?
Gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be on your show. Let me start by saying that I'm a big fan. Why you guys don't have more sponsors? I'm going to help with this. I hope we're going to get some really big sponsors, and we're going viral.
I hope so. I mean, we drink Coke and Pepsi every week. We assumed at some point that they would just see it and they would want to sponsor us, but I guess that hasn't happened yet. So one day,
progression, my friend.
Indeed.
Keep the faith. Keep the faith. But it's a pleasure to be at least on the phone with you guys. It's been way too long.
Yes, for sure. Indeed. Agreed. All right. Well, again, Dave, thanks for joining us. We're going to get right into the topic here. It's comedy police films. We did cop films a couple weeks ago. More serious and kind of ones people hadn't seen before, hopefully. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about ones that I think a lot of people probably have seen, but one of my first, love into comedy films was the Police Academy films, okay?
Yep.
I probably hadn't seen the first one till I was older. The first Police Academy film was rated R.
Yeah.
So,
there were some definite adult themes, if you will.
There's nudity, there's, swearing and stuff. So the sequels were all PG or PG-13. So I grew up on those. And then when I finally saw the first one, I realized that, the first one is truly a really good movie.
Yeah.
And the other ones are just kind of funny, goofy. I love them, 1 through 4 especially, because 5 is when they go to Miami and they lose Gutenberg. You don't get rid of Gutenberg. You can't get rid of the Berg. I'm just saying. Major movies go downhill.
Agreed.
Yes. So, Wayne, what are your first thoughts when you hear Police Academy? What do you think of?
Well, you got me think about Steve Gutenberg, and I go back to the Stonecutter Simpsons episode. Who makes Steve Gutenberg a star? We do. No, I love it. I definitely. 4, I think Citizens on Patrol is my favorite. I mean, you've got Michael Winslow, the effects guy. You got the amazing Bobcat Goldthwait.
Yep.
I think that's how you say his name. I've been practicing, but if I got it wrong, I'm sorry.
Boss, what are your first thoughts on Police Academy?
And I will say, I've got a couple years on you guys. So Police Academy was about a time. I'm gonna say that we've got a VHS player. So Mike, I know you were a video store junkie like me, and so I would take mass amounts of movies home with me. I worked at a place called Beacon Video Library, a competitor of your beloved Blockbuster. But anyway, so I'd watch it, and I have to say that the first one was brilliant, and then I would agree when you go to 4, they kind of struck gold again, so to speak. Leslie Easterbrook in there, I have to admit, I was at the right age, and that was a super crush that I had.
Yep.
Leslie Easterbrook, as I mentioned, I believe her character was Debbie Callahan.
Yep, Sergeant Callahan.
Huge crush on her. But Kim Cattrall from Sex and the City, early film for her, early film at least that I was aware of the actress. And, she was also a very attractive young lady. And then, Michael Winslow with all the sound effects. I mean, I tried to emulate that quite poorly. And then I won't leave out Bobcat Goldthwait, and I probably butchered his name too, Wade. He really hung his hat on that character. Kind of the whatever. I loved him in Shakes the Clown as well, but
yes.
He really had a character that I think teenagers and preteens could relate to because he was just kind of a crazy guy.
He was, yeah.
He actually had a stand-up special about 5 years ago where, he was just talking in his normal voice.
He's different
and it was
now,
odd, but because he's actually a really funny guy, and occasionally he would sprinkle in the Zed.
And I know in his stand-ups now he will, or at least in the last handful of years, he won't do that character. Mm-hmm. And you got to give a guy credit that is Bobcat Goldthwait and was married to Nikki Cox. That's all I have to say.
Yes.
I take my hat off to you, sir, and I give you a friendly bow and maybe a couple chef kisses.
Yes,
indeed.
for sure. Yeah, I mean the cast. I love Tackleberry. He was the kind of the serious meathead cop. You had Bubba Smith play Hightower, who was just the kind of just this enforcing big buff dude who no one could get through. The first one was fun, just to see Mahoney and because they had to go like undercover and stuff because he kind of got kicked out of the force at some point, and then they had to like in order to get back in. There's this whole plot because he was a bad cop.
Yeah.
It wasn't until like the second one where the department embraces them a little more, and their zaniness, and that's where Bobcat comes in. David Spade was in one, I believe, in that one as well, as one of the trainees. So I mean, this series to me it was an important series to me growing up. I think.
And let's talk about the theme song really quick.
Oh,
when it goes out, you know exactly what you're watching and what you're going to hear.
Yeah, it really just. I don't know. It was just one of those things in our childhood that was just there, and I used to watch. They were on HBO and Cinemax all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to watch them all the time. So I have a fondness of Police Academy 1 through 4. I even watched 5, even though it was awful. 6 was bad. I think did they make a 7? I can't remember if they went 6 or 7.
I don't know how many direct videos they actually did make. It's kind of like we're getting
7 was Police Academy Mission
to Moscow
in 1990.
with Ron Perlman. That's right, Ron Perlman being the main bad guy in that one.
And that, of course, that's when I think I had to quit watching at that point.
Yes, you had to bow out.
Well, because they stopped making them, Dave. 6 is one I always remember as being one I watched a million times, and that's the one where they like Mission Impossible it, where the villain had like several different faces he would wear, and he like lived in the sewer, and it was some like police commissioner that was like just crazy, and it was like, wait, what is going on in this movie? And that was the one where Michael Winslow pretends to be a robot. He takes all the things from the junkyard and like puts them in his body and pretends to be like the Terminator.
Yeah, I bowed out after 5, so I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Well, and Mike, do you remember the G.W. Bailey, right?
Oh yeah, Harris, Captain Harris.
Yeah. How far did he go in the series? Because I'm completely drawing a blank. But he a great like jerk. Trainee or whatever you wanted to call him.
He started the series, and then I believe, I'm going to check right now, but I believe he came back in 4, I think. And then I think he was in them the rest of the way, because he was basically like the main star after that.
Move it.
Yeah, exactly. I love when he got the shoe polish on the bullhorn. Of course, Mahoney had pulled a quick one, and then the character played by George Gaines, Commander Lazard?
Yep, Commander Lazard. Yep.
Of course, it was like almost like he didn't know what was happening, and it was almost like it seemed real, like it was a spit take, like he didn't even know it was going to happen because he sort of dim-witted, but he almost broke character.
Yes.
Do you remember that scene?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think there were probably, if you go back and watch all these, there's probably a lot of scenes like that, especially with someone like Winslow.
Yeah.
Like I feel like a lot of his stuff was off the cuff, probably.
Ad-lib.
Yeah. And if you're just an actor, you're gonna get thrown off by that every once in a while.
I think we do need to mention the scenes with Proctor at the Blue Oyster Bar.
Yes.
With another iconic theme song. With the leather-clad bikers.
Yes. Oh my God.
These movies. And I will have to say, for that time frame, Wayne, somebody would say, "Oh, I went to a bar," and someone that in my group of friends would say, "Oh, did you go to the Blue Oyster Bar?" So it actually made it was like whatever. It became kind of a joke.
Made it into our the lexicon,
pop culture lexicon.
Alternative bar or anything. But because in the movie, it was like, it was used as a comedy thing.
Yeah.
That was a weird line that stuck, and probably any of Michael Winslow's like kind of kooky little segue, sound effect thing.
It's funny too because first to answer your question, G.W. Bailey was in 1. He was a wedding guest in 2, but he's uncredited. And then he's in 4 through 7. So he was not the only one he actually technically isn't in is the 3rd one. Because in 2 and 3, Mauser kind of takes over training the cadets. Michael Winslow, what's funny about him is, like, obviously I remember him from the Police Academy films, but I feel like the thing I quote the most is from Spaceballs.
Yes.
The sleeps, the briefs, and the creeps. The what, and the what?
I'm surrounded by assholes, sir.
Yeah, and he's a talented guy. I mean, he obviously gets roles that pertain to being able to make sound effects.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he got paid. So
he did.
At the end of the day, no harm, no foul. And Gutenberg probably dipped out. I don't even know when he did, but I know when was it Three Men and a Baby? Am I going too far?
That was around. He left after the fourth one.
Yeah.
So that was like right around that time where he kind of started to get bigger roles, I think, in being more things that people would see instead of another Police Academy movie.
Exactly.
But it's still probably the most iconic role I could think of for him. I liked Three Men and a Baby. The sequel was okay. He's done some other things, but really...
He's been a really good villain lately, if I remember correctly.
When he was
a little sleazy guy.
Wasn't he Entourage or Ballers?
He was in Ballers. He was
that's right.
A sleazy millionaire, billionaire.
Yeah, he was. Rich douchebag. All right, so I don't want to make this whole podcast about Police Academy. Obviously, between the three of us, it seems like we could keep talking about it.
I think it's decided we will do a Police Academy episode.
Yes, we will. We should do a commentary where we watch them.
Yes.
All right, so the next one I want to talk about, Dave, is called The Other Guys. Dave and Wayne, have you guys? Mark Wahlberg, Will Ferrell. To me, this is like the perfect police comedy. Like, there's no... Like, I started with Police Academy because that's like the beginning of it, I think. But like Other Guys, I don't think there's really been one. There's been the Jump Street movies and stuff, but like Other Guys really hit the buddy comedy part well. They hit a lot of the Police Academy stuff that was just really random funniness, like Michael Keaton throughout the whole movie with the TLC references and whatnot. Adam McKay directed The Other Guys. Still deserves a sequel, Adam, so get on that shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but we got Daddy Them 2, but we didn't get or Daddy's Home 2, whatever the hell that movie was. But we didn't get Other Guys 2.
I think it would be hilarious if they somehow brought The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson back.
Well, like show them in the hospital or something, like they're recovering.
One of the most epic cameos, in my opinion.
And that's what's great about this movie. So if you haven't seen The Other Guys, the plot basically, it's these two macho cops in the very beginning, basically the opening credits, played by The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson. One thing it does make you go is like, man, I really need a buddy cop movie with The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson. I didn't know I needed that in my life. But they are dead about 10, 15 minutes in when they do one of those great jump off the building moments from any action movie, and they die. So then Ice-T, who's the narrator, then tells you, this isn't a story about them. This is a story about the other guys. And so then we get into meeting Will Ferrell's character and Mark Wahlberg's character, who Wahlberg is the disgraced police officer, and Will Ferrell is basically the numbers guy for the police department. He does all the paperwork and is content with having just a low job and helping the other officers do their jobs. Basically, he takes it to be like, hey, I do my paperwork so they can go out and they can arrest bad guys and whatnot. It's fucking hilarious. It's from start to finish. It's funny as hell. Wahlberg plays this unhinged character, which you're not used to seeing him play, and he's perfect at it. And it's one of those things that you at least. Well, I don't like the Daddy's Home movies as much. Wahlberg plays a similar character in those as well, and I think it started in The Other Guys, and you can see what he kind of took from The Other Guys to do that other character, and it just. God, anytime I think of this movie, when we worked at Feld, we used to quote it all the time. While they. You just gotta, when you're around, you gotta creep. Captain, no one says that unless they're quoting TLC. I have no idea what you're talking about. Michael Keaton is a gem in this movie. Yeah. Wayne, what are your thoughts on The Other Guys?
Oh, it's fantastic. The one little aspect, who plays Will Ferrell's wife?
Eva Mendes.
Eva Mendes. Yeah, that whole aspect about a nerdy guy's got a smoking hot wife.
Yes.
It's like, what?
Who is she? Seriously.
Who is this woman? That's my wife.
Yes, that's my wife. She's very frumpy right now. It's okay. I apologize. So, boss, what are your thoughts on The Other Guys?
Well, I will say, when we talk buddy cop movies, or at least when I think about them, and I've seen a lot of them, and so Mark Wahlberg's character is great. Like, he is the unhinged guy. He's the guy that probably should be like, what was it, Dancing? It was Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Yeah.
But he was the stud cop, the hero cop.
Yes.
Mark Wahlberg, I think, always wanted to be that guy, but he was always second fiddle, right? So that's that formula. And then you have the sidekick buffoon who is in buddy cop series, right?
Yes.
And that's always the sidekick's kind of the buffoon.
It's, you know what?
Always has a moment or a few moments where they help win the situation.
Yes. I'll tie it into Police Academy. He's Proctor.
Mm-hmm.
He's the Proctor of other guys, but he's the star of the movie. So they take that side character and put him up front, which is nice.
Yeah, and Will Ferrell's character, he was a forensic detective.
Yeah.
So as you set it up, he's kind of the nerdy numbers guy.
Yep.
And Mark Wahlberg, one of the funniest scenes to me was like the tuna and the lion argument, and he's at it, Detective Alice.
Yes.
Will Ferrell, because he's clicking too loud on the keyboard, he's humming a song. He's like, if I was a lion, I would, and you were out of my species, I would, like, you're a tuna, I would go in the ocean, that one.
Yes. Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, I know the bit. Yeah.
That was ad lib. That was so funny, because then you have Will Ferrell who can just come back and say, like, I'm going to make breathing apparatuses out of kale.
Yes.
We're going to circle your pride with the school fish with like 300 pounds tuna.
And guess what? Now we have a taste for lion.
That would be funny to see, but would never happen.
Yes. Oh my God, so there's so many good parts of this movie. The fact that he shoots Derek Jeter, should have shot A-Rod.
Yeah, and if you like, I'm just looking over the cast and sort of refresh my memory. But Rob Riggle, who was really like new to me at that point.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He was funny. But Steve Coogan, who I think is actually brilliant.
Yes, he is. Very hilarious.
I can't name all the movies I've seen him in, but also that being said, he's a brilliant actor.
Yes.
And when you really look at the cast, and like you said, Michael Keaton. Yeah. It's like Keaton's they really hats off to whoever got that cast together.
Oh, for sure.
Now, and you were saying Daddy's Home. That was Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, right?
Yes, it was. That's why. That's the only reason I brought up the comparison.
Comic gold again, and I think they maybe got a bronze.
Yes, I would agree. I still haven't seen the second one. I've only seen the first one of that, so I can't compare the second one. I thought the first one was okay, but when you go from the other guys to that, it's just you're just kind of like, could have been better.
It dawns in comparison. It's no backdraft. We'll shout out to Andy Roy.
Yes, it's no backdraft.
Our good friend Andy, yes. He is lacking in the fireman department.
Yes, he is.
Fandom, I should say.
It's a classic, Andy. It's a classic. All right. I do want to talk about...
We're going to have a panel.
We are about backdraft. We're taking this way too far.
I listened to the show.
Yes. I do like, too, that Rob Riggle and Damon Wayans Jr. are like the TV version of The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson. Like, that's... If you were going to cast them in a TV show, that's who you would have cast because they don't cost as much money.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of a good comparison to the two main characters because they thought they were the hot shit now that those guys were gone.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean Bobby Cannavale, fantastic too, as the one of the cops in the group support groups. He's a great character actor that gets these like little comedy roles every once in a while, and he's the one that shouts out they should have shot A-Rod.
Yeah. One of my favorite roles of him, who is actually a serious one, is Boardwalk Empire.
Oh,
where he's just a sadistic.
Yes, he's great in Boardwalk Empire. Yeah, just Michael Keaton. The one I will reference one more thing, and then we'll move on. But when he's at the Bed Bath and Beyond, and he's like, all right, yeah. So there's a rapist out there. You gotta watch out. Oh, wait, sorry, ignore that one. Well, don't ignore it. Walk with a friend after work. Such a great oops, I mixed up the paperwork. Oh God, and then his delivery was.
It's
right on. It's so dead on in that movie. It doesn't get talked about enough, I think, except for me. I talk about it all the time. But other people don't talk about how great he is in that movie and how great at comedy he was. I mean, he's in Beetlejuice, Multiplicity. Mm-hmm. Like, he was so good at comedy, or is so good at comedy. We don't use him enough, I don't think, at comedy.
You think he was typecasted because of Batman?
I think that definitely after Batman, he started getting more serious roles.
Right.
And even though Multiplicity did come after, that was few and far between of the comedy roles.
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget about Mr. Mom. I mean,
yeah,
I thought that made him brilliant. Now, Gung Ho.
Yeah,
I love Gung Ho.
Gung Ho is
wasn't it? Or,
underappreciated classic.
It's a drama with comedy in it. You know, when you put George Wendt in a drama, you're gonna get some laughs.
Yeah.
There's definitely the culture shock too. There's that's played for laughs as well. I don't think Andy likes that movie either. So Andy, we're coming for you. Something about Ron Howard movies, I think, is what it is. He's hit or miss. I'll give you that. Ron Howard is very hit or miss. But Gun Ho's a classic. I just want to start shit. All right. All right, so we're going to move on. I'm going to mention a couple before we move on because we only got two more main ones that we're going to talk about before we get to our reviews. Nice Guys, which isn't really a cop movie, but it's a buddy detective kind of like film, which I really love. It's fantastic. Yeah. Central Intelligence, The Rock, and Kevin Hart. The two Jump Street movies I really enjoy. Mm-hmm. We talked about Beverly Hills Cop when we talked about Eddie Murphy. Yeah. That's a classic. That's another one that, like, you go to Police Academy and then you probably go to Beverly Hills Cop as, like, the other main comedy cop film from that time.
Right. There is one I want to talk about really quickly, and it's actually scrutinized, I would say, and that's 2004 Starsky and Hutch.
Oh, I love Starsky
because it's not supposed to be a comedy based on the TV show from the 70s.
Yes.
And a lot of the original fans were upset. My aunt Beverly definitely was
still not over it.
Well, she's dead now, so I think she's over it. But
I think sorry, Aunt Beverly.
Sorry, that's how I got to deal with the humor.
Dark.
I know. I remember sitting in the theater and I'm dying laughing, and she's just getting upset and angry. It's like, this isn't supposed to be funny. They're not supposed to be funny. And
that's what
it did have saving grace at the end when they brought back the original Starsky and Hutch.
She probably liked that. That's probably her favorite part of the movie, I would imagine.
But overall, Snoop Dogg is Huggy Bear.
I mean, Will Ferrell. Come on. You got Snoop Dogg. You got Will Ferrell in that movie. I have that over here. When I was grabbing movies, I forgot to grab that one.
Vince Vaughn is hilarious.
Oh my God, Vince Vaughn is fantastic. I love Will Ferrell, though, in the prison. I'm going to need 2 dragons.
2 dragons.
And then the whole Easy Rider, it was seriously like, I think you're right. I think because it was the first iteration of something like that. Well, I guess not the first, because Charlie's Angels was very serious, too, when it was a TV show.
Right.
But it was around that time when they started doing these dramatic TV shows as comedies in film. And it threw people off. I mean, you had it with what was the other one I was just thinking of? Well, there's Chips, which I like Chips. I know people did not like Chips, the movie.
I was just going to interject with Chips I'm just going to, sorry to cut you off.
No, it's okay.
I will go back to Starsky and Hutch, which I guess I'm old enough to remember the TV show. And I watched it because we only had 3 channels. But I did like it. I liked when they made Starsky and Hutch more of a comedy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But when we were talking about this, Chips got bombed. I think it was like 18% on Rotten Tomatoes.
No one saw it. Yep.
I'll go by your metrics, Mike. You said I don't care what it says on Rotten Tomatoes if I was entertained. And Michael Pena, Dax Shepard, I think they work well together. I'm not saying this is Academy Award winning. I was saying I was highly entertained.
Right.
I mean, the other one too, people were upset with Jump Street. Because that was, again, it's a very serious show, but they turned it into 2 very entertaining and funny films.
Absolutely. And again, you had the original cast come back as a cameo. Yeah. And to get Johnny Depp to do that.
Yeah, obviously to get Peter DeLuise is not a big get, but when you get Johnny Depp to be with Peter DeLuise in that scene, oh my God! And the fact that you realize too that they're actually not just like 1 or 2 scenes; they're throughout the movie. They're just a lot of times they're in the background.
Yeah.
So if you watch the first 21 Jump Street movie, you'll see Johnny Depp like kind of just standing off to the right somewhere, and you're like, oh, there he is. So it was really cool that they did that because I know at the time, liked that he was on the show, but there were some issues because they were having a hard time getting him off the show to go do big movies and stuff. But it's nice that he can kind of reflect on that and be like, you know what, that's where I started. I'm going to come back and show these guys that, you know, this is how you do it when you respect where you came from. That helped, I think. And just Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill were hilarious together. I mean, just like you said with Dax Shepard and Michael Pena in Chips, it just worked. They had that connection.
What was funny?
I don't think you could have cast two better people to be in that movie.
Right. I like that the Jump Street movies, they made fun of us, like, you guys don't look like you're in high school. Because Johnny Depp and Peter DeLuise?
Peter
They
DeLuise.
didn't look like high school kids at all.
No, they didn't. Richard Grieco, when they brought him in like the third season, none of them looked like high school kids. But it was funny, yeah. You look like you're 40, man. Like, what are you doing?
Well, we had Ice Cube as the chief.
Like,
especially the second one where Jonah Hill's character.
Yep, it's David's daughter. Yep. Oh, my God.
The chief's daughter. The chief's daughter. Oh, shit.
Those are good movies, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one that we're going to get into, again, Beverly Hills Cop, we talked about that one. It's classic. Originally, it was supposed to be a Sylvester Stallone movie. I don't know if people knew that. He dropped out. They rewrote it. They rewrote it for Eddie Murphy to be his big star vehicle after he. That was the main reason he passed on Ghostbusters, was because he got his own starring role in Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh, what could have been?
What could have been?
But we have discussed that at our past videos to see that diatribe.
So in 2000 and I think this was 2007 for this movie, Hot Fuzz came out. And Hot Fuzz was we're jumping into a little bit into the future from our last few movies. Mm-hmm. We're gonna jump back for our last movie, but this one I wanted to talk this one first because I feel like Hot Fuzz took they got it. They got the buddy cop movies, and they got it really, really fucking well. Like, this movie is hilarious from start to finish. They had, similar to other guys, they have the very powerful opening with the badass cop played by Simon Pegg, Nicholas Angel, great name too, just for a cop movie. Edgar Wright directed this one, and directed Shaun of the Dead as well, and the other at World's End. But they got it. They understood. You could tell they loved the buddy cop genre. Like, that was something that they appreciated it. So when you do a movie like this, the right way to do a parody is to have love for that category. That's why a lot of those disaster movies and superhero movie, those shitty spoof movies are terrible because they don't love the genre. They're trying to make fun of it, and it's hard to make fun of something, I think, if you don't have any sort of passion for it.
Right.
And you could tell in this movie that they loved these movies and they wanted to make their own buddy cop movie, but in a way that would suit them. And I think it was a perfect fit. Obviously, Nick Frost returning from Shaun of the Dead. It's a trilogy, but not really because it's separate. They tied together with the ice cream in the movie, the Cornetto trilogy is what it's called. So go ahead.
I really love the editing transitions in this movie.
Yes.
And that's something that you get with Shaun of the Dead as well. The quick, fast action with the sound effects.
Yep.
It moves the story along. I think we've talked about this in the past, but again, just touching on just the way that they transition from like day to night or one place to another, or just the quick cuts, or like when he's getting dressed and putting on all
the real, very Bad Boys, very Point Break, which they definitely, the last final 30, 40 minutes of the movie are very Bad Boys and very Point Break, which they talk about when they're at the gas station. They see the rack of DVDs, and those just happen to be there.
Didn't the one he said you ain't seen Bad Boys 2?
Yeah.
It's like, and they reference, I think, Die Hard and Weapon in the movie, if I remember correctly. So they kind of get nods. And I also thought that, to your point, Wayne, the transitions were great, and the action scenes were like kind of legit. Were they not?
They were. No, they were super legit. Yeah. And what I loved about them too is they didn't kill most of the people. Everyone just got like really badly maimed for the most part. In that final action sequence where you get Timothy Dalton gets the model like church through his face and he still lives.
Yeah.
He's like, oh.
There was a quote, Sergeant. He said, Sergeant Butterman, the little hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Yes.
It's just things like that. Simon Pegg is like a badass.
It worked.
Perfect because you normally don't see him as a badass.
Yeah, it really worked. It was great that they brought most of their cast with them. You had Paddy Considine, who would go on to be in At World's End, but he was a newcomer to this one. He was the two cops with the mustaches. They were great.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, they were fantastic. Martin Freeman, Bill Nye, who we've talked about many a times on the show. Joe Cornish is actually one of the writers. Nick Frost, as we talked about, he's the other main character. Jim Broadbent, Academy Award, I think, winner, Jim Broadbent. Rafe Spall, he was the one who in Shaun of the Dead said, "You got red on you." That was him, and he was the other mustachioed cop in Hot Fuzz. The two twins, you had the twin police officers. There's just so much in this movie that worked, and you could just tell that they watched those movies, Bad Boys and whatnot, before they made this. And when it finally clicks in, when he gets all loaded up and everything, and he makes the one-liners and stuff, and he comes in on the horse with all the guns on him and shit.
Yes. It was like it was epic to see him come out like that.
Yes, and then the fact that every person he comes across in the town is packing. Like, the people that own the store, they pull out their shotguns and just...
How about the character who he later was in that vampire show that was on TV? I don't know the actor's name. He's an older British actor. He, what was that? I don't want to get off the movie, but he played like the vampire hunter or in that TV.
Oh, yeah. You're talking Carl Johnson. I think that's who you're talking about. Yeah, he was in The Strain.
Yeah, The Strain. And when he shows them the arsenal.
Yes.
And then they kept hitting the big landmine, like remember he kept hitting that mine with the
yes, yep.
And then it started ticking. That was like hilarious. And one other thing, when he asked the kid, is a curly redheaded kid, and he's like, "When's your birthday?" And the kid's like, something like blah 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 February. He's like, "What year?" And the kid's like, "Every year."
Yeah.
He was a like nose in the grindstone cop, followed all the rules, and then and he just gets jacked with by this. Like this kid should have respected him.
Yeah.
And this kid's like, "Suck eggs, guys,"
Yeah. Well, and that's what leads to, right? Like what you just said. He was the hard-nosed cop, but he was by the book. And that's what leads to what happens later in the movie is he realizes being by the book hasn't helped anybody. And he basically let this cult go on and murder people in this small town, and he did everything by the book, and he couldn't stop it. So he then resorts to what Nick Frost's character has been wanting the whole time, which is a big Hollywood-level, big-budget shootout in the way of Point Break or Bad Boys. My favorite, too, is the Point Break when the reference and then the follow-through later when they're like, "Have you ever taken your gun and shot it in the air while chasing a suspect?" It's like, no, never done that. And then at the end, when he's got the chance to shoot his dad, and then he turns and he shoots into the air. Yep. Fantastic.
Yeah,
like, just the way they played it was so perfect. This is funny, too, because my wife appreciates these movies now, the British style of humor. It's very dry. Mm-hmm. I took her to see it in theaters with my sister and family and stuff. She didn't get it at first. She was like, "Why is everybody laughing? Like, I don't understand." And it just shows that this kind of humor isn't for everybody, or sometimes you have to see other movies. It was after she saw Shaun of the Dead, maybe 5-6 years ago. She's like, "Oh, I get it now." Mm-hmm. And the fact that he was in Star Trek helped too, I think. Because you get a lot of his dry humor in Star Trek, and she's a Trekkie. So that was like, okay, I see he's funny here. Let's watch his other movies. And now she appreciates these movies, Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead.
And he had a line, Mike. I was, because when it'd been a while since I'd seen Hot Fuzz, but when he is serious, Simon Pegg's character, there was that line that was like, "I may not be a man of God, Reverend, but I know right and I know wrong.
Yes.
I have the good graces of which is which." That is like a line that should be in a serious, probably.
It should be, yeah. And that's where the priest.
Which I thought was brilliant.
It was.
They made him Rambo in this sleepy little town.
Yes. Well, and that's great too, because that's right when the priest has the two guns that come out of his robe.
Yeah.
The priest is packing. So
it is funny that everyone's packing.
Yes, everybody in that town is packing, and it was quite hilarious. All right, so the next one we're going to move on to, obviously, because we all love Hot Fuzz, is another similar kind of. I don't know. It's not really a parody. I would say it's more like a raunchier police academy. Would you say for Super Troopers? Everybody. I mean,
yeah.
It's
same vein, but
definitely like drugs were way more prevalent in that.
Yeah.
Safe to say, and cops that like would not necessarily turn in all those drugs.
All right, Meow.
Yes. All right, Meow. They like to have fun. So in 2000, I think it was 2002, was it? Super Troopers came out.
Mm-hmm. Sounds about
2001. Sorry. They just had a sequel, which I enjoyed the sequel. It's not nearly as good as the first one, but it was fun.
Yeah.
But the first one is such a classic at this point, and it's Broken Lizard was their comedy troupe name, so everybody I think knows it now. They've done Beer Fest. Slammin' Salmon was another one of theirs. What was the one that
Club
was
Dread?
Club Dread. I love Club Dread.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that. Probably talk about that one when we get in October. It's so good. Club Dread, just a little tidbit on Club Dread because people rag on that movie a lot. It does the horror and comedy so perfect that it works beautifully. Like, in order to do a horror comedy, you have to be able to do both. And they do, like, it's legitimately creepy at times and also hilarious at the same time. It's hard to do that shit. And the fact that they did it, I think they don't get enough credit for that. All right, so it was directed by Jay Shindrakeskar. I hope I said that correctly. I apologize if I didn't. We try to get everyone's names here correct on the show because we know it's important.
It'll be spelled correctly on screen.
He's like Thorny, right? He was the,
he was
the police officer with the thick mustache.
Yes, Ramathor, yeah. Who wants a mustache ride?
I do. Yeah, me too.
Let's see. Eric Stolhansky, Steve Lemmy, Kevin Heffernan, Paul Soder. They
that look like
out the
spit
cast.
to you?
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck it.
Powdered sugar is delicious.
Forget about Linda Carter now.
Linda Carter is the governor or mayor or whatever. Brian Cox is their captain. Brian Cox is amazing in this movie. He should have won an Oscar for this movie alone.
The next one of you that says shenanigans is going to get pistol whipped.
Hey, Farva. Oh, man. Jim Gaffigan's in this, too. I forgot he's the one they pull over.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. It's so funny. So Super Troopers, I guess we'll give a little bit of a plot because we didn't really do it on all the movies today. Super Troopers is about a group of highway patrolmen who are just like the worst cops you could think of. But they find out that their station's going to get closed and they're going to be taken over by the state police, and they don't want that to happen. So they kind of try to work together with each other and make sure everything is legit. But of course, hijinks ensue. Really funny, hilarious shit keeps happening. You got the meow scene with Foster and Mac. Farva. Sorry. Yeah, hey, we do that. We're gonna do that meow thing that they did. Yeah, do that. I'm gonna say, what is it? He's like, oh, you just say meow instead of no. That's stupid. I'll go and call a guy a chicken fucker for $20. License and registration, chicken fucker.
Team Ramrod. Say it. Say Team Ramrod. You didn't say it. Oh, I forgot.
And Captain Omega was like,
oh my god. I love when Farva makes fun of him.
Remember when Rabbit got his nuts shaved, and he was like, looks like the Rook is getting his nuts shaved after all. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's some really, this show is not obviously PG.
No.
Because Wayne was F-bombing the other day on one of the...
We did. We started... Yeah, we started...
You took the beeps out, Mike. You took the beeps out.
We did. We stopped beeping, and I even said in that episode, I'm not beeping this anymore, and Wayne's like, fuck. And I was like, well, oh, wow. We did start...
Go ahead, sorry.
So, yeah, we started out as trying to keep it somewhat clean, and then as we kept going, it just didn't seem as necessary. You know, it's not like we have a fucking, like, 100,000 listeners or anything, so who are we really being clean for? So it just made more sense to kind of let that go naturally.
Because my sense of humor, as you guys know, it can be. I think all of us we have like kind of funny sense of humor. Because when I first came on the show, then I didn't want to lead with it. I was like, I wanted to. Our scheduling took a little bit of time just because of my weird schedule. But I also wanted you guys to like have your jaws relaxed after blowing. God, why can't I? James Gunn. You guys love James Gunn, though.
I do. I'm a James Gunn fan. I have been.
Like him, but I was just like, this guy needs to fly you guys out and let you.
Hey,
like on the next movie.
James, you heard that. Fly us out. We'll be in your next film.
I would make a fantastic Ravager.
Yes,
saying.
exactly.
God's ears. Let's go.
No, I mean it. Yeah, I mean I've been like I said on that episode, I've been a fan of his since Romeo and Juliet back in the '90s. So I followed his career for a long time. So yes, we were definitely talking very kindly about James Gunn, if you will.
I had to bust wise just because you know that if we were just sitting around having a beer, I would probably bust wise about that.
For sure,
I love the passion that you guys have faith for movies because movies are great.
Yes.
Even bad movies can be great. And
exactly, which we'll get to in a minute.
We will be talking about bad movies shortly, I believe.
Absolutely,
we will. And the reason I wanted to end with these last two is we'll talk about that as well. But yeah, Super Troopers. I mean, I think it when it came out too, it was not very well reviewed, but it was one of those instant hits with audiences, and the audience loved this movie. They're the reason. I think the audience is the reason a sequel ever got greenlit in the first place, is because it took a long time because the movie didn't make a lot of money when it came out originally, but that's the reason we got a second one, because there was just this clamoring for getting to see them do their thing again. They were hot for a while, and then they kind of simmered, which is weird after Beer Fest, because Beer Fest was flipping hilarious. But
I love Beer Fest.
But it was just the natural progression, I guess, of their career at that point. And Jay went on and started directing more movies. He did the unfortunate Dukes of Hazzard movie. And some other ones here and there, and a lot of TV directing as well, Arrested Development and stuff like that. But this movie, I still think stands as their like greatest achievement. I'm sorry.
Sure. And I think I will say I know people that are in their mid-60s that laughed and really appreciated the film.
Yeah.
And I think you could play it for teenagers to watch this.
Oh yeah.
And they would laugh. So they kind of, it's not, I won't say timeless because I want to reserve that for like epic.
Yes.
But it holds its spot for generations, definitely.
And I think for police, it's the same as Police Academy. Like you could put Police Academy in now for anyone who's 18 years old, and I think they'll enjoy it because, especially the first one, because it's a hard R. They don't hold anything back really, and it's just funny. And Super Troopers is very similar. It's just a funny movie, whether you like cops or not. It's just hilarious.
I'm going to have to jump in and disagree right there, because if you remember our old coworker, Sean Strelo, didn't think Chris Farley was a funny man. So I don't know what the younger generations do actually find funny.
That's blasphemy.
Yeah, it is. I damn near fired him on the spot, but that's all right. Sean's a good dude, and
we did.
A different generation of what people find enjoyable, I guess.
We gave him a lot of shit on that one.
Super Troopers, that the placard was the name placard that said the fart zone. Farts are still funny.
Yes.
I mean, people will still laugh at farts.
They will. They still laugh at that. They still laugh at people getting kicked in the balls. New Jackass movie coming out next year. So, people still enjoy that kind of humor. But you're right. There is definitely a disconnect, I think, with some of our stars. The difference, though, is, too, with Super Troopers and Police Academy, I mean, not so much Police Academy because a lot of them have been dying off, but, like, you could still find Gutenberg. Chris Farley, unfortunately, died before most of them were born. So it's like, it is that unfortunate thing where has he really been talked about as much as we think he has? Because we talk about him all the time, but we loved him. Like, we grew up on him. And that was just something that, we hold dearly. Now, if someone watches, like, Black Sheep or
Tommy Boy?
Well, Tommy Boy is a classic. I was going to go in the other direction and say, like, because I love Black Sheep, but I get why people wouldn't like Black Sheep.
Beverly Hills Ninja.
Yes, same thing. And I love Beverly Hills Ninja. It's a terrible movie, but I love it. So, All right, so we're gonna go into our next segment, Dave. Wayne, reviews
of the week.
All right, so Dave, we're having this conversation about funny cop movies because you had a request that we talk about this film from 1980 called Super Fuzz, also referred to as Super Snooper. So, which is why I wanted to do Hot Fuzz and Super Troopers last in our discussion, because I almost wonder if these fine directors of Super Troopers and Hot Fuzz saw this movie back in 1980 and kind of took the title for their own in a way.
I'm doing the mind-blown sound effect right now, Mike, because I did not put that together. But I want to say you framed this brilliantly.
Thank you.
Almost like we know what we're doing.
You're professional.
I needed the money.
Well, and the reason too, Dave, and I had that thought beforehand, but then as I started researching it more too, I guess it did play on HBO a lot back in the 80s, which I'm sure is probably how you saw it, right?
You know what? It was a video store. I have to be honest. I probably saw it in '86.
Okay.
The original, or the first time around. But it struck a chord with me, and it was weird because it was like I ended up buying it like bootleg VHS, where on eBay I bid on a pen, but I got the movie. The guy from Super Fuzz are going after a guy selling a used copy of Super Fuzz.
Met him on the street corner.
Do you want to give the setup on this?
Yes, I will.
You are way better at researching than I am.
So first off, to start, this movie it's directed by Sergio Corbucci, who was an Italian spaghetti western director in mostly like the 50s and 60s, and then in the 70s beyond, he did a lot of comedies, and that's where this movie kind of came from. So that's what if you watch this movie, it might seem a bit strange at times because Ernest Borgnine is in this movie. He's an American actor.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the actors in this film, including Terence Hill, the lead actor, are Italian.
Yeah.
Now, I'm pretty sure Terence Hill overdubbed his own voice, but not everybody did. You could tell. One character at some point sounds like Mario. I was like, come on, guys.
The lip sync it could use a little tuning up. I will say that much.
If they do a anniversary in let's see, because it'll be 50 years in 9 years. They do a 50-year anniversary Blu-ray. Maybe they redo the dub a little bit.
Well, I just want to stop and say, when you think Ernest Borgnine, I don't think comedy off the bat.
No.
I think it's probably one of the last things I think about.
No.
I think about disaster films, I believe.
Yes, disaster, or some of his dramas. He was won an Oscar for Marty, which was a drama.
Right.
Yeah.
So this.
As far as buddy cop movies go, he plays kind of a bumbler. Terence Hill.
Yes, he does. Series. So I'll do the plot here.
The formula. How long has this been around? Forever, I guess.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Oh, for sure. It's been around a long time. The basic plot is that Terence Hill is this rookie cop straight out of the academy, and he goes off on this mission, I guess, that he convinced his sergeant, played by Ernest Borgnine, to go off on. And you could call it an explosion, I guess. It looks like an explosion, but then all you see around him is this red stuff. And so everyone thinks he's dead. No one bothers to go check to see if he's actually dead. They just assume he's dead. Multiple times, mind you, throughout this movie. They just
let me interject one thing. He was out in the canoe, right? They're going to do the test. The government, they weren't sure if it was clear. He was taking it out to, was it Aborigine, or I'm not sure what it was Native American Indians?
It had, because it takes place like in Michigan or something. And they filmed it there too. They filmed it in the States.
Yeah.
But what is funny is he's out in the canoe, but he's serving a warrant or collecting, maybe it's a warrant for parking tickets. And I'm thinking, how did the gentleman getting the tickets drive the car through the swamp to get to the parking tickets in town? Yeah, complete side note, one thing that stuck with me ever since like 1986, just to let you know. Can we address that Terence Hill's name is Dave?
Yes.
Dave Speed. That's pretty kick-ass, right?
Dave Speed. Terence Hill plays Officer Dave Speed. Ernest Borgnine is Sergeant Willie Dunlop. So he then shows back up, And he realizes very quickly that he has these special abilities, if you will, superhero-like abilities, which he then basically almost like the entire movie he's trying to explain to Dunlop why he has these or that he has them. I should actually jump back because it does start off kind of serious, where they are trying to kill him because he was given the death penalty for Dunlop dying. By the way, there was no body found. Usually you don't get the death penalty if there isn't a body. So
my true crime podcast would agree with you.
Yes.
One of the things I want to jump in here really quick on, this one we didn't talk about earlier, just in the beginning especially. I got a vibe from a movie whose name I just lost. It's Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks. Dragnet.
Dragnet, yep.
Wow. Yeah. Do you guys remember Dragnet?
Yep.
The movie from the mid-'80s? Yeah.
I used to watch the show all the time in reruns. Yeah.
Yes. Again, another serious TV show that was turned into a comedy.
Yep.
But just watching the beginning of Super Snooper, I was like, I don't know why I'm getting Dragnet vibes from it, but I am. So Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks obviously were.
I'm going to get to some notes, some things that I really I can't say enjoyed, but like made me like throughout the movie certain things I didn't like in the beginning that by the end of it I was like, oh, okay. But so they've tried to kill him like 3 or 4 times. They're gonna put him in the gas chamber finally, or electrocute him. Sorry, or electrocute him, which we don't see towards the end. That's when he tells this whole story of what happened. But so I feel like Boss, you probably agree with me on this one. The music drops. First off, he has his own theme song. There's a Super Snooper theme song. Which opens the movie, and then we hear it like way
too long for today's audience.
Oh,
it is like 4 minutes long.
Yeah,
the movie with that treatment, like that oversaturated multi-image, which is probably actually kind of slick for that time.
Yeah. For 1980, it was pretty cool. Yeah. The other thing too is they would drop it in.
Kind of like Axel Foley's theme.
You know what? I guess you're right. To me, though, because it was such a harsh drop, it felt like a 1970s porno.
I am not up to date on my 70s porn, but please enlighten me.
I knew Butts would get it. Butts said yes immediately.
Yeah, exactly. Mustaches are making a comeback.
Yeah.
So you're saying you're a Bushman of the Kalahari?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so that's just what I would think of at the very beginning of the movie. I'm like, wait, what were they watching while they were editing this thing? Like, come on. So I actually looked at Sergio's background to make sure that there was no like adult films in there, and even the music department and the editor. I'm like, okay, I guess nothing. They just made movies.
Well, a lot of times the guys aren't going to put forth those credits just
true.
because it sullies their
reputation,
IMDb page, if you will.
But that was like my first thought. I was like, wow, that's what this reminds me of. But then it was like, at first it was annoying, and I was like, God, this song's terrible. By the end of the movie, I was like, Super Snooper, Super Snooper.
Again, go back to Axel Foley, the theme.
It is very hooky.
It is.
And, I'm going to say this, Terrence Hill, he's a handsome leading actor. I mean, he was a good-looking dude.
Yes, he not a great actor, but he was definitely not bad looking.
If you were going to just get maybe some housewives to tune in,
yes,
they could look at Terrence Hill for what was it, about an hour and a half? It was a pretty quick watch.
Yeah, it was a quick watch, kind of. It felt like an eternity sometimes.
Well, I watched this after our other bad review that we're going to get to in a minute, so I'm like, oh my God, let it end.
Oh, you were up late last night then, huh?
Indeed.
Oh, God.
So Mike, you were kind of doing the synopsis with me, and if you don't mind me jumping in.
Sure, go ahead.
This guy, I really love this film. So basically, it was like some type of radioactive material that gave him the super abilities. Mm-hmm. But it was like red plutonium, I believe, is what the military guy said, which is kind of like they just thought of something that would sound like it would cause you to have some ill effect.
Like unobtainium?
The color red then reversed the effect of his super abilities.
Yes.
So we're just ripping off Superman right now.
Basically.
Huh? Basically, yeah.
It was Superman, but a cop film. With Ernest Borgnine.
A parallel that I have that I'm going to say, I think everyone should watch this film just because perfectly bad.
Yes. It's a bad movie.
Google users give it a 94% like. So, hey, Google can't be wrong.
Hey, it has a 6.2 out of 10 on IMDb. So people enjoy this movie. Go ahead.
And Mike, I think do you remember The Greatest American Hero?
Vaguely, yeah. I never watched it, but I know of it. Yeah.
Great theme
William
song.
Cat, they rip off Super Fuzz because he's got super ability, but his weakness is the color red, which is ripping off Superman. The color red did not take down Superman, but kryptonite. Right?
Yeah, just having something that weakened him. Yeah.
Catch an episode of Greatest American Hero, and you'll see that they just basically kind of stole this formula or borrowed the formula from Super Fuzz.
Yes. Super Fuzz. Super Fuzz or Super Snooper or whatever the Italian name is, because that's what comes up on the opening credits.
I know it is Super Fuzz, and I do like when his last meal kept being beans, and he kept eating a lot of beans.
Gross.
When you watch the movie, you'll see where the beans kind of come into play.
Yes.
So, Wayne, your takeaway was like too horrible to watch, or just maybe too close to another horrible movie you watched?
No, it was fine. I didn't think it was horrible by any means. I think it was just. I'm coming off of the movie. We're going to talk about Cry Macho, the new Clint Eastwood movie coming up here. And I'm coming off of watching that train wreck.
Bated breath, because I have a really nice review for that.
Gotcha.
Nice meaning, it's going to be painfully, painfully honest.
Gotcha. I don't know. Do either of you guys have anything else to say about Super Fuzz?
I just want to,
because I really want to get into talking about
we will.
Cry Macho.
We'll get into Cry Macho, and then we'll end on obviously what I think is the better of the three that we're going to talk about.
Right. Let's save the best for last.
Save the best for last in this case. So, for Super Snooper, though, I would say, temper your expectations. It's a silly, silly movie. Very odd. There are some funny moments. The end with the giant ball floating through space was weird. And when Ernest Borgnine just decides to jump off, and then they end up in China. It was so strange. They didn't
know how to end the film.
They had no idea.
Wait a second, we're at budget. How do we end it? I got it. My beer.
It is on YouTube, so if you want to watch it on YouTube, it's free. So that's good. I bought it ahead of time, Bus, on Amazon for $5, but it's all in Italian. No, it's like, well, I'm pretty sure that's not how I'm supposed to watch it. So I went to YouTube.
You were like, I didn't know Bus spoke proficient or understood Italian.
Yes, exactly.
This would be a great party watch, I think, in my opinion, where you can, have a couple of drinks and
for sure.
Make fun of it or laugh along with it with your buddies or your gal pals.
Yeah, you don't want to sit down and think it's going to be serious.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So, let me just look here real quick. Hold on. All right, so we're going to move on to our next movie, and that is the new Clint Eastwood movie called Cry Macho. So I'm going to start off here just to note, Super Snooper has a better IMDb rating than Cry Macho does at 6.4 to Cry Macho's 6.2.
Yes. I don't know how Cry Macho has a 6.2. It's just Eastwood fanboys, I guess.
Reading some of the reviews, I think some people just... No one seemed to really like it, but they gave him the benefit of the doubt because he's Clint Eastwood.
That's the only way.
Yes. So, a one-time rodeo star and washed-up horse breeder takes a job to bring a man's young son home, played by Wayne's favorite actor, Dwight Yoakam.
Wow.
Guitars, Cadillacs.
So, we're introduced to Mike Milo. And he's being fired by Dwight Yoakam. Worse. Okay, so he's talking about how he's past his prime. I'm like, he was past his prime 30 years ago. You cast yourself in this movie, Clint Eastwood. You're 90, bro. 91 now. Just cast someone who it's more believable that someone would have actually kept them hired for that long of time.
Yeah.
Anyway, regardless. So
it gets worse with his abilities.
Oh, it does.
I just need to ask real quick, Dave. What was the best part about this movie?
The star of the show It's the rooster.
Yes.
We all three have said that.
I'm going to be very...
When a rooster outacts everyone, outacts humans,
Mhm.
and are we doing spoilers? Because I don't know how there's a spoiler in this movie.
There really, nothing happened, so I don't know what you're spoiling.
Yeah, but when I start with the rooster, fall in love instantly with it, who is Macho. For the fans,
the title character.
Not crying. Macho is the rooster.
Yes.
I kept coming up with cock jokes and Macho Man Randy Savage jokes. That's all I did throughout the movie because I was so bored. I was like, "Oh yeah, that's a big cock right there."
Says, "Hey kid, if you want to name your cock Macho, it's all right with me, or it's okay with me." I'm like, "Okay, now I at least feel good about the time I wasted watching this film."
Right?
But I laughed, and then I was like, "Man, you needed something here. You needed something.
You needed a story that was at least enjoyable, and it doesn't have to be like an action story. I mean, if you look at something like Gran Torino, he turned kind of a thought piece on old people and racism into like this kind of new friend story where he develops his relationship with this young kid. And you could tell they were trying to do something similar, but he was trying to do it with toxic masculinity, which is why Cry Macho, they keep talking about how, in the States, which is funny because this took place in 1979. And so he's always like, well, if you come to the States, they don't like that macho crap. And I'm like, yes, they do, especially in 1979.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Exactly.
think
and it's just interesting that I was like, hey, you're Tan Mike, Dwight Yoakam's character, Tan's Mike. Fast forward a year, I think it was.
Yeah.
And now it's like, hey, Mike, I need a favor.
Yeah, exactly.
With this gal down there, she was crazy, but she was fun at a party to party with her son. And I have this son, and you know what? I need my son back. I know I canned you a year ago, but you owe me.
Yeah. Well, it was weird too because he was like, I owed you because you did such a great job for me, and I paid for all this stuff, but now you owe me. Like again,
yeah,
exactly. He doesn't get how favors work.
If someone asked the three of us to write a movie, and we just got we got the title, Cry Macho, and then everyone write down something. We're going to throw it in the hat, and that's the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. The dialogue does not help Dwight Yoakam's performance.
No, the script was terrible. Let's
just go to the fact that what's with Clint Eastwood being the ladies' man. And, before that, who's going to believe that lady got with Dwight Yoakam? I mean, come on. Get out of here with that.
True, too.
Two unbelievable things. The BDE of Mike, a.k.a. Clint Eastwood, or Clint Eastwood, a.k.a. Mike. You guys know what BDE is. I don't think I need to explain it. I was like, I almost turned it off because I'm like, now you've offended me. You've offended me. The hot, now, and also, it's the Mama Cartel person. I don't know. There's no backstory.
There's
security guards, and she's hot, and she's a drunk, and she's.
There's literally no reason to why she wants them.
Nice, right?
Palatial. There's no reason to why she wants them back. Just because her ex wants them is the only reason. And then, every time there's confrontation, it lasts all of 30 seconds. I assume a lot of that had to do with Eastwood not being able to move around so well.
Well, they allude to it that he needs to take naps. All right, we're going to break for 15 minutes. I need a nap.
A nap in Martha's Cafe.
Yes.
And he's woke up by the star of the show, Macho, the rooster.
Yes, Macho.
Waking up to a big cock in the morning,
Maybe it was symbolism. Martha kept seeing this big cock by him. And I'm just correlating something here is going to happen.
My God.
There's a reason Mike has this big cock with him.
Yeah. It was a mess from start to finish. And I think people should know that we're all, I think for the most part, Clint Eastwood fans. Yeah. We like a lot of his movies. We were just talking Mystic River Up a couple weeks ago, and it has a masterpiece of his. Granted, he wasn't in it.
And you spoke, didn't you just talk about one that was, I may have been a few episodes back. I thought there was one that was a lesser known Clint Eastwood.
The other cop episode, we talked about Blood Work, which I really liked a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And didn't do well, I don't think, in the theater, but it was actually good movie.
Yes,
now,
it's
this
solid
may
flick.
do good on HBO Max. It's probably brilliant to release it.
Yeah.
The way they've released Cry Macho, a.k.a. Cry David, after watching the film. But even out of his kind of wheelhouse, this is just a turn for him.
It is.
And I respect him too much to have this be his last film. I almost think we just burn the negative. and Clint Eastwood's last movie will be. I don't have the list in front of me.
It was the Mule.
See, and I liked the Mule because it didn't make him into more than what he was.
Yeah, I never saw it.
He's an old guy that drives a truck around peddling drugs.
Well, and
and then sorry to interject. So he's supposed to go get the kid for Dwight Yoakam, right? I think you said this, and then it's this, he's teaching the kid. Okay, so everything, he's going to get laid twice, or presumed laid twice. He turns down the one lady. And then, let's get it more unbelievable. There's a wild Bronco that the guy has in the small Mexican town.
Yes.
And he, wait till you see him move. No offense, Mr. Eastwood, I think you're brilliant. You're just 91 years old. You're lucky to be alive, to be honest. You're breaking Broncos, and you teach the little kid, the young kid, how to break Broncos too. I love it. I saw Bronco Billy. Okay, that was okay. I believed you in Bronco Billy. Everything seemed very believable.
But 50 years later, not so much.
40 years later,
yeah,
it just doesn't.
It's hard to really fathom why this was even made, because so looking up this movie, it was based on a novel from a long time ago. They used a screenplay that the original author actually wrote, and so he got together with this guy that did Gran Torino and a couple of his other movies, and he wrote that I supposedly changed it, but a review I read, someone made a good point. They're like, it was like a movie that was written in the 1970s, but was never given a second draft.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this was the first draft, and they just said, fuck it, we're going to go with it. And it didn't work. It would have worked better if he cast someone like, and you mentioned, we were talking about Blood Work, Jeff Daniels would have been a much better role, or actor for this role, I think. He's in his 60s, so he's not 90. I get I think the reason he's supposed to be sought at and more attractive is because he's this rugged cowboy, right? So, if you cast someone like Jeff Daniels or Harrison Ford, who is just because he's Harrison fucking Ford and was a sex symbol for many years, even though he's almost 80, I get the draw. You know what I mean? I get oh my God. Clint Eastwood.
Mike, let's reshoot it with Liam Neeson.
There, you know what? Yep.
I believe that he could kick a guy's ass still.
Yes, exactly. And he's older. He's in his 60s. I think that would work perfectly. If you wanted to go with someone I didn't even think of him. Yeah, Liam Neeson would have been great.
We already know he's got a specific set of skills.
He does.
Yes, I will point out every time we talk about Liam Neeson. He can control the Force, and he's got a specific set of skills.
We do mention that every time. There was just, I don't know if it was ego or if it was just, I'm going to play this part or what. Someone needed to talk to him about him not playing the part. And maybe it was because he said, as a director, and I think everybody's come to know this, he's Mr. One Take. He likes to do, and it's very obvious, because when you cast actors who don't know how to act, like the little boy, you have to give them more than one take. Yeah. And you could tell that basically was all he gave him. And Eastwood, too. A lot of one takes. I wrote down, I texted Wayne, he looked like a puppet throughout this movie. Someone was literally working Clint Eastwood through this film. His eyes were big and wide. It reminded me of just an old man puppet.
But when he's chasing the rooster at the beginning of the movie, it's get out of here with that.
Stunt double!
The fact that he caught the rooster.
Yes, was bullshit.
Is even more unbelievable. I was waiting for Dwight Yoakam to go. I'm looking at Dwight Yoakam. I'm thinking Sling Blade. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you better... You know better than to talk to me like that when I'm hurting, Linda.
Yeah.
Don't make me knock the piss out of you.
Yes.
And very few lines you can say of Dwight Yoakam's.
Yes. Yes. They're not very PC these days.
It's a little dicier line, but Sling Blade is a masterpiece.
Yes.
And
agreed.
This is not.
This is not that.
Of a masterpiece.
You should do a written review, Dave, and just do that. Screenplay is a masterpiece. This is not.
If I ever meet Clint Eastwood, I'll say you're brilliant, but I want next film. Next time because he produced and directed it, I believe.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. If I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
I'll say I'll be your hype man, but I will tell you, don't fucking act in it.
Well, and that's just it. Because even my wife, she only made it like 10 minutes, but even she woke up every once in a while. She's like, it's just not entertaining to watch him act anymore. He's so old. And I'm like, and it's nothing against old people, but he supposedly retired from acting like 10 years ago, and then he hasn't stopped. He Jay-Z'd himself. I'm done.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no. If you watch the film, he's retired from acting.
Oh, yeah.
And I started thinking too, like maybe he cast himself because he knows he's okay with the one take. He doesn't want to cast somebody that can't handle his directing style.
Exactly. And Mike, I gotta be honest. GQ, when I went out on, I went after watching it. Right, I needed to maybe see if I missed something. Right. GQ makes a statement. Clint Eastwood is 91, and his films just keep getting odder and more daring.
Yes. And like we said, like when we love the guy, you said you're a fan. It's just, this was not what I expected to watch when I put on Cry Macho. Before I started it, Wayne had texted me. He's like, "Oh my God, this is bad already." And we were what? You were 8 minutes in?
Yep.
And so I
wanted to do like Night at the Museum, where more so where they go into like the picture.
Yeah.
I wanted to jump into the film, have some type of timely outfit on.
Yes.
And first off, maybe dance with Marta at the cafe.
Yes.
That lady was just a beautiful woman.
Agreed.
And then go over the side and say, "Hey, you take a nap over here, Clint, and me and the kid are gonna get some machine guns, and we're gonna get across the border, and then we're gonna beat the shit out of Dwight Yoakam. We're gonna get the deed to the land from the mom, and we're gonna then have a cop fun. That's what we're gonna have."
I'm glad you brought that up real quick here, because the whole thing about how much the kid loves the rooster, and then he just gives the rooster away at the end. It's like, what the
That's what I was like. I didn't feel they developed enough of a relationship to where he's like, "Here, have my rooster now." Like it didn't.
I'm pretty sure Clint Eastwood's character ate the rooster after the kid left.
Well, he even references it's like, "Well, you don't know, kid. This could be Saturday night, a barbecue."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I think I'm gonna take my cock and go back and see Marta."
Yes.
I was like, he's not gonna go across the border. He's gonna go back to Marta because they've already established his love interest.
Oh God.
And wait. I'm sorry. I got to talk about this. I should be a veterinarian based on the fact that I can look at an animal and say, "It looked like it got torn up." He works on that sheep by tapping on it.
Yep.
And then the sheep is fixed. I mean, so maybe he had Flex Seal or maybe some duct tape. I don't know what he did, but he fixed that. And he fixed they made him that side road there where he's a veterinarian now because he tended to horses.
Yes.
Like, you're just like literally, as I said, all three of us throwing ideas in the hat, and we just pull it out randomly. Like, okay, next scene, there's going to be people lined up down the street to see Mike, the ex-radio guy, the cowboy, become a veterinarian.
Yes. Well, and that whole scene, and we spent like what, 30 minutes in that town at least.
Yeah.
It was so ridiculous. The movie just kind of stops there, and then you get like just this, like you said, the ridiculous of him being a veterinarian. I love that the cop comes to him, the sheriff, and is like, "You need to fix this for my wife, or there's going to be problems." And he's like, "The dog needs rest." "Oh, okay, great, thank you." Like,
yeah, he's like, "Thanks, amigo," and I'm like, "You fucking kidding me?"
That's enough.
With the exchange, and then I thought, well, at least have the wife crack a smile, but she's like in her head, she's still frowning, right?
Yeah.
And she's like in her head, she's like, "This is straight bullshit."
Oh God. Yeah. So that's Cry Macho, everybody. It's just not very good. We expected it to be good. I would say. I would think that was where we were at with it.
If you need a Clint Eastwood fix, turn on Dirty Harry. Go watch Unforgiven.
Well,
Skip this one.
I will say what's great about HBO Max is most of his movies, the majority of his catalog is Warner Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a good collection of Clint Eastwood movies on HBO Max or HBO. This just isn't one of them. So go find something else.
The Outlaw Josie Wales.
Yep.
Let's put it this way.
Gauntlet.
Super Fuzz would get an Academy Award before Cry Macho.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm saying.
Who would?
Mic drop. Super Fuzz would get an
of course.
nomination
Yes.
before Cry Macho.
Well, I will be what's the right word I'm looking for? I will be campaigning for the Rooster to get an Oscar because he was the only thing redeemable about this film. So the Rooster deserves to be recognized for this film.
I did watch the credits because I like watching the credits. And it said no animals were hurt during the filming of this movie, only the actors' careers. Really small print.
It's a shame that kid's career ended as it started.
Yeah, why didn't you just put Slater from Saved by the Bell? He should have been in there. And they just, you know what I mean, make him look a little younger, and then he's all tough and muscly.
Yes.
I think Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite could have had a scene or two.
He could have. They could have peppered in more cast for sure.
Absolutely.
All right.
Let's get to something better, Mike.
Yes.
I will say the other one that you guys suggested was a much more entertaining one.
Yes, I agree. So our third and final film of the week is Nightbooks, produced by Sam Raimi from Evil Dead and the Spider-Man franchise.
Jessica Jones done lost her damn fool mind, though.
Yes. Starring Krysten Ritter from Jessica Jones and Breaking Bad. Directed by David Yarovetsky, who directed Brightburn, which was basically the Superman horror film where a kid gets superpowers from another planet and he turns into a mass murderer. So with his next movie, he decided to go more kid-friendly, and we get another horror film, but it's what people like to call the gateway horror films for kids.
Yeah.
And it, right off the bat, so Nightbooks, it's a kid, he's sad, and then he runs and he gets caught in this witch's house. That's basically the plot that gets the movie going. But right off the bat, we get to see his room, and he's got posters from some of my favorite horror films, Child's Play 2. I believe there's a Nightmare on Elm Street poster. Right away, I'm like, oh, this kid, this is great. I'm really into this just off the bat. But then you get to the actual movie, and you get to see Krysten Ritter gleefully play this just evil witch. We're not going to spoil this one because there are the plot points that I don't want to give away.
Mm-hmm.
But you could just tell that everyone involved in this movie had a lot of fun making it. I thought it was a really good kids horror film. You don't get a lot of those these days. There's been some in the last couple of years, but I thought this one really kept my interest. It was fun. It had a lot of nostalgia for me. But I thought what was great is most of the nostalgia is in the plot itself, so it's not obvious. It's not like sometimes after Stranger Things, everyone wanted to do nostalgia, so they start throwing, oh, here's a poster of this and that. You get that at the beginning, at the end, but it's more just the fact that he's this horror nerd is kind of what resonates with all of us horror fans.
Yes.
Dave, what are your thoughts on Nightbooks?
Nightbooks, to me, so I missed the whole Goosebumps era.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I had seen some of it or read whatever. And I will say it had like this and I like to say it has like it could be a little bit of more mature Goosebumps or my okay. So that's what I thought. And I had I went into it very positive, as I did Cry Macho. And I am not familiar with any of the cast. And Krysten Ritter is from
Breaking Bad.
Dominic. People were very happy to see her.
Yeah, Jessica Jones, Breaking Bad.
That's right. I do know her then from Jessica Jones. That's my bad.
Yeah.
But I will say the young gentleman who played Alex and the young girl who played Yasmin, I thought that was a good like a good duo.
Yeah, agreed.
I think they're both really great actors. Krysten Ritter also acts masterfully in this.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I like the story where it's like I like you, Mike, and Les Wayne here. I know you're not a horror fan. I've watched as many horror films as I humanly possibly could. as a kid, and I'm a big fan of it. This is not this is not by no means the kid version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I like the fact that, like you said, Mike, it's a bridge thing for children to kind of get used to, like a spook story or a little bit scarier than what they're normally going to watch.
Yeah.
But there's also like kind of fun stuff in it too mixed in.
Yeah.
And I loved was it Lenore, the Sphinx? I have 2 Sphinx cats, so I love the breed. That cat and the Macho from Cry Macho could probably have a movie.
They should have a buddy cop movie.
They should.
A buddy cop movie with a cock and a
pussy.
Pussy.
I was waiting for that joke. I was waiting for it.
I was really entertained, and I'm probably. I mean, some people may say I'm probably a little old to watch it, but I go back to the entertainment value.
Yeah.
It was shot well. The edit was well. This is not a spoiler, I don't think, Mike, but the library,
yeah,
the part of the witch's house.
Yep.
That thing was so cool. When they first showed that, I was like, that is brilliant, because you think the space is 10 by 10 originally, or whatever,
just a small room, yeah.
And I liked it. The moral to me was that this kid had a passion about writing scary stories. He was kind of an outcast. His best friend, he had some issues with his best friend, and the fact that they sort of forced him to do what he kept loving to do, and I love that story. I love that was part of the story.
Yeah. Well, and I love the just the effects around the stories he would tell.
Mm-hmm.
That was so we would get like the kind of the old story, storybook, like the title screen smashes on and it's the title of his next story, and then you get kind of like almost. I mean, there were kids, but it was like in a fake CGI world on purpose, right? To make it like inside of a child's head. I thought that was really clever. You're right, you're dead on with the 2 kids. It's sad that we go from Cry Macho, where the kid was not good at all, to then this movie where the 2 kid actors were fantastic, and they had to be, because they had to carry the film,
right?
Along with Krysten Ritter, obviously. But
I wanted to make a comparison to Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yep.
That TV show, and then Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, the 3 or 4 different novelizations of those books. Like we talked about, gateway into horror. I think.
Well, and I think too, what people should focus on, like the good thing about the Goosebumps books, I know it was a TV show back in the 90s, but the Goosebumps books and the stories and Stephen King, like that too is all good gateway stuff for kids. And this movie focuses on books being that for children, which I thought was nice. It's a movie about books. So where books are a positive.
Read, to be creative.
Yeah.
To, if you have a dream or you're passionate about something, you need to stick with it, even if it's not like a popular thing amongst your peers.
Exactly.
And I will say the look of the film, the like telescene of the film, to get kind of film nerdy.
Yeah.
I thought that was really well done. That looked really, really sharp.
Yeah. The movie as a whole just looked really, really good. It was fun to see, because Sam Raimi has Ghost House Productions, which is producers of The Ring and The Grudge and all these other movies. So it's fun to see it pop up in front of a kid's film. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, this is a PG movie with his logo on it.
Exactly. And I watched it with one of my sphinxes. So
okay.
I felt like I was really a part of the film.
The cat was awesome. And I think they did, unlike the rooster, they did use some CGI throughout the film, obviously.
The sandwich scene, of course.
Yes. Which.
I love when the cat was just live action.
Yeah.
Or the real form of the cat.
Yes.
And the CGI wasn't offensive, but I was like, oh man, let's not make this. Come on.
They did a good job of.
Doesn't have a lot of lines or anything.
No. They did a good job of when to use the CGI and when not to. It wasn't overbearing. I think if it was a full CGI cat the whole time, it probably would have not been as fun. But it was still just a really entertaining film. This is a movie. Netflix does this a lot. They get a lot of movies where they're not sure how they're going to do, so they wait for about a month out to promote them all at all. Like, I never even heard of this. And they're like, oh, a new Sam Raimi produced horror film from the director of Brightburn is hitting Netflix with Krysten Ritter. I was like, that whole sentence, I was like, wait, what? Like, I need to see this movie. And I really enjoyed it. I had such a good time with it. Krysten Ritter is so good in this. There's some spoiler stuff at the end and some good, like callbacks to earlier in the film and stuff. And like I said, I don't want to reveal what happens because I want people to kind of discover this on their own.
And there was the callback to a classic novel, or the reference to a classic novel, which I won't say because I want people to watch this film.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good. I thought that wasn't cheesy. I thought that was a good tie-in.
Yep.
Because it's about books. It's about this kid writing.
Yep.
It's about the overall thing is. And then they tied it into a book, and I was just like, "This is really." It was really. I didn't know what to expect, Mike, and I was entertained. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, good. I'm glad everyone seemed to like it. Yeah. We really hope out of the 3 that we watched this week, I think you should go watch this one. It's on Netflix right now. If we didn't say, I think we said Cry Macho was on HBO Max, and then Super Snooper or Super Fuzz is on YouTube.
Yes.
So usually, Dave, we go into stuff we've watched this week. We're running long, so I'm gonna open it to you. Is there anything that you've watched recently that you'd like to tell anybody that they should check out, and then we'll get into our next segment.
Real quick, and I won't go into any detail. Killing Eve, that series, I'm new to that, and I like when you suggest you guys both talk about stuff you're watching, and I think it's brilliant. If you have not seen the series. At least give episode or season 1. I don't know if either one of you seen Killing Eve.
What's it called?
Great actors in it, great stories.
Killing Me?
No, Killing Eve.
Oh, Killing Eve. Oh, okay. Yes, the Sandra Oh series and Jodie Comer.
Sandra Oh series, yeah, and I think it was produced by the BBC.
Yes.
Originally, or produced by the BBC. I think that's brilliant. I'm sure I'm late to the game on that. Mike White's White Lotus.
I've heard it's great. I haven't seen it yet. Yeah.
I saw it, and I love Mike White. I wish it would have been better in times.
Okay.
There's the heaviness of that in times, and the way they cover it, and the resort, the guy who played the resort manager, whatever, I thought brilliant in it, and I should know what other movies he's been in or TV shows. Mm-hmm. I guess like Stifler's mom didn't need it. That storyline, yeah. But I want Mike White to get love, so I want people to watch it.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to checking that one out.
But and the only other thing is Evil. Evil was on. It was on CBS. I've only watched a couple episodes, and check it out. I would say to everyone, check out an episode to see if you like it. I think it's edgy for originally being on CBS as far as content. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's basically a group of people who are going to say, is this demon possession where you're going to need an exorcism?
Yeah.
Or is this psychosis?
Yeah,
people are imagining that.
Yeah, I saw the whole first season. I really liked Evil. I haven't started season 2 yet. It moved from CBS to Paramount Plus, which CBS owns Paramount Plus. Definitely I agree with you, Dave. If you haven't seen that series, check it out. It has Luke Cage in it, and several other people as well. Asif Manvi is in it from Daily Show and Spider-Man and a bunch of other stuff.
It's entertaining for something that it was almost like, I think I hit play something on Netflix. Yeah. And boom, there's season 1, episode 1. And I'm almost through the first season. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. All right, so we're gonna move we usually talk about people that have passed away at the very end, but before news and notes, we're gonna get into especially one person that passed away this last week. I think that we all kind of grew up on a little bit. We'll talk about the other deaths too real quick. Ben Best, a co-creator of Eastbound and Down, passed away at age 46, very young. No cause of death at this point. He worked with Danny McBride and David Gordon Green and Jody Hill, all the creators of Eastbound and Down, the new Halloween franchise, all that stuff. Jane Powell, star of Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, dead at 92. But the big one this week for us 90s SNL fans and comedy fans, and just comedy fans in general, was that Norm Macdonald, the eclectic, weird, bizarre, strange comedian that we all grew to love, passed away at 61 from a battle of 9 years of cancer. Very sad. He didn't tell anybody. He kept it very private. But I just want to reflect a little bit on Norm Macdonald and what he kind of meant to us. For me, working... actually, I wasn't working at Blockbuster yet, but just going to Blockbuster, the video store, when I rented Dirty Work, I wasn't really kind of sure what to expect. I knew Norm Macdonald from SNL, but when I saw Dirty Work, oh my God, the movie is hilarious. I was just rewatching it the other day after he passed. It's still funny, it still holds up. His sense of humor it was just something that not everybody got. So, and there were a lot of comedians, and I think it was Seth Meyers said, what was great about Norm was when you got it, you understood it, and you felt kind of better than everybody else that didn't get it. You're just kind of like, oh, well, you just don't understand. And like his mind worked in such a way that it may have seemed that he was doing like bad comedy, but that's because that's what he wanted you to think he was doing at the time. And it's just like the way he would get through his jokes, and it's so good. Often brought up as the Bob Saget roast, which we used to work with somebody who was like, I remember watching that roast and going in the Fell the next day and like, oh my God, Norm Macdonald was hilarious. This was great. And then someone going, oh yeah, Norm Macdonald bombed yesterday. And I was like, oh, like, and I felt bad. Like, wait, did I not get it then? Or like, what was something wrong with me?
Thing is, like, you got it. And that's the thing with his delivery. He's like that dry, straight delivery.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, he lulls you in, and then he's like, man, you got it.
Yeah.
That's what I thought was brilliant about him.
Yes, he was so good. I just watched a joke of his on Conan that he did, and it was super long. So, and you're just kind of like, and Conan too is like, okay, like, where is this going? And then he got to the punchline.
The taxi cab, right? With the guy.
Well, no, this one was he was talking about a one-legged pig from his hometown in Canada.
I was thinking of a different joke. So.
Yeah, no, and he gets to the end of it, and he's like, he talks about how, like, this guy, he's like, yeah, it's like, so I want to know about that pig, and he's talking about the joke, and he's going through it, and he's like, oh yeah, it saved my son, it did this, and he's like, okay, well, why does it have one leg? He goes, oh, well, a pig like that, you can't eat him all at once. Like, that was
exactly.
And it was like,
I'll try to do a Norm Macdonald quick one-liner. He said, with Hitler, the more I learn about that guy, the more I don't care for him.
He was such a different person. Like, I think what it is, and I hope over time people are going to realize how smart he was.
Yeah.
And he downplayed his intelligence. He would talk about how he wasn't smart enough because he didn't talk politics and stuff. Trust me, as we see today, you don't have to be smart to talk politics, or even be in politics for that matter.
Exactly.
So the fact that was like his barometer for intelligence just shows how nice he was too, because he was from Canada. Yep. And I always like to look like, everyone talks his sense of humor. His sense of humor is very Chevy Chase-like, which is why they cast him in Dirty Work, except he's not a massive asshole like Chevy Chase.
Yes.
Everyone hates Chevy Chase. From what I can understand, and from what I'm hearing people after the fact that he passed away, no one hated Norm Macdonald. Everybody loved him. Yeah. His friends, his fans, his family. He was just such a kind-hearted person. I listened to a 38-minute podcast from Bob Saget, and Bob Saget and him were really close friends, so that was kind of emotional to hear him talk about it. But it was,
and with him, he had some of his humor was dark.
Yes,
and that's, I think, what I liked all his humor, because he would have like your basic like, hey, and then there's this farmer and blah blah blah, and then he would get to like the one-legged pig joke. It's like clean, and but it is a little bit dark.
Yes.
But like when his dark jokes hit, it was like, hey, he's being like a little bit he's being a lot topical.
Yeah.
And then I could share his O.J. Simpson joke if that's allowable. I don't know what you guys think, but
Just
is that
go for it.
Too off the cuff or
no? Go for it, and we'll cut. If we don't like it, we'll cut it.
yeah. I know we're long on time. O.J. Simpson was in a different kind of courtroom this week, attempting to regain custody of his 2 children. In order to prove to the court how much he loves his kids, O.J. pointed out, quote, "Hey, they're still alive, aren't they?"
He did.
Like, that's how he's dark, but it's
oh my God!
I laugh at jokes like that.
Oh no,
he
was.
Maybe I'll go to hell.
But. That's hilarious, and I'm sure I heard that because that was probably an SNL one, or was that?
I think that was part of his
the Weekend Update.
Yeah,
he's definitely my favorite Weekend Update.
Yeah, oh for sure,
by far.
Wayne, you've been a little quiet. What are your thoughts on Norm Macdonald?
This is one of the deaths that really hit me. I was like, oh man,
yeah,
like up there with learning that Robin Williams passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, golly.
I mean, I put it up there. Other SNL alums, Farley and Phil Hartman, and it was just.
And Belushi too.
Belushi, well,
I know
I was one, so
way more popular, but man, he was a great cast member and just a great comic.
Mm-hmm. It's always nice too to hear other comedians talk about him like how we talk about him. Right. Like how great he was, and that's just Norm being Norm. And Jeselnik, I forget his first name, Andrew, whatever his name is, the comedian, and he said, he goes, having cancer for 9 years and not telling anybody about it is the most Norm Macdonald thing that he could have done.
You're talking about Anthony Jeselnik, right?
Anthony, yeah, I don't know what I said, Andrew. Anthony Jeselnik, who's another one who's I would honestly compare him to Norm in the fact that he tells very similar dry jokes in a very dark place.
That would be a great double bill had they,
yes.
maybe they toured around, because Jeselnik can't say he didn't learn something from
Norm. You could tell that he picked up a lot from Norm. I mean, there's a lot of people that picked up stuff from Norm. There was Seth Meyers told another joke about Norm and his kid, and he's like, it was Norm talking to Seth, and he's like, yeah, we were watching a Weekend Update, and my son was like, oh, because Seth is like, he obviously watched Norm Macdonald growing up, so he took some of his mannerisms when he did Weekend Update, not on purpose, just how it worked. And his son would go, hey, you're just like Seth Meyers. Wow. And Norm Macdonald goes, oh God, oh no, my son doesn't know how time works. So it's just, it's a bummer. It really is. But it's nice to go back and see some of his moments and to go to YouTube and see that Norm Macdonald is one of the top trending things on YouTube and Twitter and all that. And it's really nice that, like I said, everyone has a lot of nice things to say about him. So Norm, you will be missed. We're big fans.
Absolutely. And to quote him, note to self, no matter how bad life gets, there's always beer.
Yes, indeed.
All right, so we're going to get to wrap up the show here. I'm going to do news and notes. All right, so news this week. Netflix has cast Haley Atwell in Tomb Raider animated TV show as Lara Croft. Cops reboot lands at Fox News streaming service for Fox Nation, because of course it does. Rumor that Disney will kill Jack Sparrow in the next Pirates outing. That hasn't been confirmed yet, but obviously with Johnny Depp and everything going on, they're not sure what they're going to do. Apparently, this is kind of weird, guys. Dominic Sherwood is going to lead an Eraser reboot at Warner Brothers. They made another Eraser movie, which I'm a diehard Eraser fan. I like Eraser a lot, but I didn't think that we would ever get a sequel, let alone need one. Apparently, it's done. They made it already. So we'll see how that turns out. It'll be out next year sometime, I'm sure, straight to video. Christopher Nolan's working on biopic of atomic bomb creator J. Robert Oppenheimer. That'll be at Universal, as he has severed ties with Warner Brothers over the whole HBO Max distribution deal this year. Keegan-Michael Key joins Willy Wonka prequel. The Batman spinoff featuring Colin Farrell's The Penguin is in the works at HBO Max with Colin Farrell involved. Frank Grillo remaking Stallone's Nighthawks as a limited series. Idris Elba returning as Luther in Netflix movie. Cynthia Erivo and Andy Serkis will join the cast. Luther is a fantastic TV show. If you have HBO Max, it's on there. I think it might just drop to Netflix or Amazon Prime too. Luther is really good. I highly recommend it. Idris Elba is amazing. I'm glad that he's getting a chance to do movies with this character he's always wanted to. So that'll be great to see those at Netflix. Multiple Mortal Kombat spinoffs in the works at HBO. Wayne and I talked about the movie that came out this year. We thought was pretty good. So we'll see where they can go with that. Ivan Reitman, this is big news, guys, has cast Tracy Morgan as the third lead in the twin sequel Triplets, where Arnold, DeVito, and Morgan will all play brothers. Originally, it was supposed to be Eddie Murphy. Unfortunately, when I was reading the article, they said Coming to America and with the Dolomite movie he did for Netflix have made him very popular again, and so he's just too busy. So they went to Tracy Morgan, a great replacement, I think, for Eddie Murphy. That's how all the sequel talks got started all these years, was that Eddie Murphy wanted to be in it. Hopefully he'll still be a producer on it. Only Murders in the Building renewed for season 2 at Hulu. That's with Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. It's supposed to be really good. I have yet to watch it. I'm excited to start it, though. So here's other big news, guys, especially for us growing up. So Indiana Jones, we just talked about Eastwood. Eastwood's 91 years old. Indiana Jones 5 is in the works. Harrison Ford is almost 80 years old. There's a rumor that Phoebe Waller-Bridge, the British actress and comedian, will be taking the reins. She's in the new movie after this movie. So not that she'll be Indiana Jones, but that she'll be the new adventurer or whatever.
Sure.
So that rumor is out there. That has not been confirmed yet, but it is a rumor that is out there. Mahershala Ali and Julia Roberts are going to star in Leave the World Behind, a Netflix film from Mr. Robot creator Sam Esmail. Gwendolyn Christie from Game of Thrones joins Tim Burton's Wednesday series at Netflix. That's about the Addams family. Bryce Dallas Howard is going to be directing a female reboot of Flight of the Navigator at Disney. Anthony Mackie joins Twisted Metal series. Wayne and I were just talking about that, so he'll be the main character. Frank Grillo says he's doing another Purge film. Could possibly be the final one. Dan Levy, son of Eugene Levy and creator of Schitt's Creek, strikes creative producing deal with Netflix. Megan Fox and Tyson Ritter, the lead singer of All American Rejects and recurring character on Preacher and Lodge 49, to star in a new Bonnie and Clyde film, assuming that'll be VOD, but interested at least. Lost Boys remake was just announced last night. Everyone's in a tizzy over it. I'm okay with remakes. I love the original. To me, it is almost a perfect movie, so I have a hard time with remakes of almost perfect films. However, I will still watch it. Noah Jupe and Jaden Martell from A Quiet Place and the new It and Knives Out films will be the stars. Jonathan Entwistle will direct. Matthew Fox to lead Last Night TV series at Peacock. Krysten Ritter joins Elizabeth Olsen and Lily Rabe in David E. Kelly's Love and Death limited series at HBO Max. Rumor from original Marvel Zombies creator and Kick-Ass creator Mark Miller, a Marvel Zombies film might be in the works. They just did Marvel Zombies for Marvel's What If on Disney+. All right, releases coming up. Hawkeye for Disney Plus is now going to be officially November 24th. Colin in Black and White, the Colin Kaepernick TV series at Netflix, is October 29th. There's Someone Inside Your House, horror slasher film, hits Netflix on October 6th. It's produced by James Wan and Sean Levy. Nightmare Alley, directed by Guillermo del Toro, hits theaters December 17th. And big news for me and horror fans, next Saturday, so the day after this episode airs, Elvira will be returning to Shudder, just like Joe Bob returned and now has his own show. She's going to be, for her 40th anniversary, doing a 4-movie marathon on Shudder Live on Saturday at 8 next week. So I'm really excited for that. I probably won't watch it live, but I'll get to watch it afterwards. So that's our show for this week. And we went long, and we had a guest. Dave likes to talk. But it's been great having you on, Dave. We appreciate you being a fan of the show and wanting to come on and talk movies with us. Any final notes or thoughts you want to share with everybody?
I just want to say it's a pleasure. I'm really excited you guys have the podcast. Just keep it doing the good work. I'd love to come back
for
whenever.
Sure.
I'll try to keep my statements shorter. But
no
you
worries.
guys are doing a great job. I'm really a fan. I'm not saying it just because I'm on the show. I'm waiting for the sponsors for you guys, and I'll spread the love. You guys send me the link. I'll put it. I'll kind of came out of Facebook retirement when you guys, when I realized you guys had this show, so I could track you, and I, follow you on I hope I can say Spotify.
Yep.
And once again, just thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for coming on, Dave. We appreciate it. We appreciate the kind words. We did just start uploading our video versions of the podcast on our own YouTube page. Wayne, what is the name of that YouTube page?
Now Showing with Mike and Wayne.
Great name.
Yeah.
So go over to YouTube, check that out. We put links on our Facebook page. I will post them on Instagram and Twitter as well. Thank you to everybody for listening and watching Now Showing with Mike and Wayne. And again, thanks for Dave Buffs being a guest. You guys all have a great week. Thank you.